How do you find your Quranic voice, and what are the major mistakes that people make when reciting the Quran or seeking to memorize the Quran? And what advice would a Quran teacher have for young men that are trying to navigate all the distractions that exist before a person is able to become a companion of the Quran? Welcome to the AlMaghrib Podcast, where we chat with scholars, community leaders, and specialists in fields serving the Muslim community. Today, I had the privilege of sitting with Qari Mikail Saddique, a person whose Quranic journey has taken him all over the world and allowed him to study and benefit with incredible teachers who specialize in finding Quranic voices for people who otherwise wouldn't be able to. And so we talked about incredible things. We talked about how being tone deaf affects your ability to recite the Quran, the importance of listening to the Quran and not just reading it, as well as advice that he had for young men growing up in an age of distraction. We hope that you benefit from this discussion. And if you do, make sure, inshallah ta'ala, to subscribe for further discussions, as well as turn on your notification bell.
It's incredible. 17 years old with a Hellcat engine. That's when you're talking about giving kids things they shouldn't have.
Ismail had just turned 18 in October, and he passed in May. SubhanAllah, his plan was, he got to a point where he would like contact me and tell me, hey, what's like the life that I'm living. And he was very well known for basketball. He was supposed to go play basketball in college. He played with one of the best teams in high school in Florida. He got to a point, he's like, I don't feel real enjoyment in this fame and playing ball. I want to go, because I took him to Egypt the year before, and he spent 3 months with me there. He was memorizing Quran. He had almost finished.
MashaAllah.
SubhanAllah, if you would have heard his voice, I had to find recordings. I'll show you, inshallah. Yani, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what happened is, when we were younger, I was memorizing. So I would always be in the room reviewing and reciting. One day, I remember coming home, and I'm walking in the house. I'm like, is my mom playing a recording of me? And I go and ask my mom. I was like, she's like, no, it's your brother. He's in the room. Huh? At that time, he was maybe 9 or 8. And subhanAllah, as he got older, his voice developed more and more, to the point where I remember one of my teachers from Azhar, he led Tarawih in a masjid. This was 2018, 2019. And I was there for the first 3 days, and I led with him. And he told me, like, I would prefer if you don't go, stay and lead with me. I told him, well, I have obligations somewhere else, so I can't. 2 days later, he calls me. He's like, I found your replacement. I said, oh, what do you mean? He said, you didn't tell me your brother and you sound exactly the same. Sheikh, not you as well. He's like, wallahi, have you seen your brother to Egypt? Yabba ahsan minnak. SubhanAllah, he prayed, at that time he had like 16 ajza. He prayed 16 nights with the Sheikh.
Allahu Akbar.
And SubhanAllah, everybody was so surprised. This guy, he's a baller. Because they would look at him and they say, because
He's a basketball player.
he made the choice to make his appearance what he was, a basketball player. So people look at him and they say, oh, this kid, what do you know about Quran? And then, people coming on Ramadan, they're like,
And leading with 16 juz is heavy. That's heavy duty, man.
MashaAllah, his memory.
Allah.
Allah, I used to ask him, like, man, whatever you stole from dad or whoever you stole it from, I need it, because he'll never review, and his Quran is there. Allah, sometimes I'm reviewing, he's like, just correcting me.
Yeah.
When did you have time to review, man? He would train for ball like 6 hours a day.
MashaAllah. That's a gift. Allah bless.
And when he passed, the janazah, I've never seen this amount of youth there, and I've never seen this amount of non-Muslims there. His janazah, I remember when we came from washing the bite to the masjid was empty. So I saw my dad, he's kind of worried, like maybe not enough people got the news, not enough people knew. I went to the bathroom to make wudu. I came out 5 minutes later, half of the masjid is full.
Inshallah.
By the time Salat al-Dhuhr finished, we had people praying in the parking lot.
Allahu Akbar.
I had friends who came from Detroit, from California, from Kentucky, from New York, from Canada. I'm like, how did you guys find out? They're like, oh, this person put in this group, YM posted here, this group posted, and we heard the call and we came. And then I see all the non-Muslims who came to the graveyard, so I invited them to come to the Azan in the masjid, and I just, tried to address everybody. So I asked, like, what brings most of you, I've never met you, I don't know you knew my brother, but what brings you? And everybody would say the same thing. He was a person, when you would see him, when you would interact with him, you would think that he's your own family. One kid will say, yeah, we were in high school together. He saw that I had beat up shoes. He gave me shoes. You don't know how many people, growing up, I used to collect Jordans. So I had like maybe 40, 50 pair of Jordans. Anytime I go back to Jacksonville, my closet is a little thinner. And if I'm in the masjid, I'm like, man, those shoes look familiar.
He's giving away Jordans. MashaAllah.
And it got to a point where I literally only had 5 left. And I'm talking about I had like like Chicago Bulls. I had stuff that's like 20, 30 years old.
Yeah.
I would find them, collect them, restore them. A lot of the guys, they would tell me like, yeah, he used to give me shoes. And I was like, oh, Jordans? They're like, yeah, how did you know? Not surprised.
He's giving away your shoes.
Giving away shoes. Some people will say, yeah, he brought me some spicy African stew and told me to take it home. And some of the kids, their moms were there. And subhanAllah, I was like, wallah, you never know the good that somebody does. If you were to try to research or you try to find out, you wouldn't know. It happens, or you find out when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires for you.
Yeah.
Because, we're all, as a family at that time, what everybody's looking for is comfort. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has different ways of comforting people.
Yeah.
For my parents, seeing that amount of people at the janazah, it was probably the most comforting thing for them. I remember my dad, subhanAllah, before Ismail passed, for almost 2.5, 3 months, he was fasting. So he has a heart issue. He's not supposed to fast even Ramadan. So I told him, Baba, I know when you fast, there's something that's going on. What's going on? He said, nothing. Everything's good. Just make dua. During the janazah, me and my older brother were bringing Ismail's body, Allah yarhamu, into the grave. And our dad was on the edge. So I just remember seeing him, like he got dizzy. And then he looked as he was going to tip over, so he sat down. So after we finished, I came and asked him, is everything okay? He said, remember you asked me when I was fasting? For the last around 2 months, 2.5 months, I've been having a dream. In my dream, I see that my feet are dangling over the side of an open grave, and I'm putting a body inside.
Allahu Akbar.
By the way, my dad, I'm 27 now, for the last 15 years, ever since he retired, he was a professor. His sole and only thing he does, he volunteers in the burial home in Jacksonville. Every single Friday, there's a body to be washed, he's the one who washes. He's if there's a body to be recovered or buried, he's the one who does it. For him, he told us, like, wallahi, I never would have imagined that me, the person who does all of these burials, will bury one of my sons. I would think that, Allah will take me and they will do it.
He thought the dream was himself.
He thought the dream was himself. So he started fasting. He started preparing himself. He said, you remember in the masjid when we were leaving for the janazah, I couldn't find my shoes. So I came to the graveyard barefoot. And when we were coming to the masjid from washing the body, he had got a stain on his thobe. He only wears white. If you see him, you think he's Sudani. He wears white amama and white Sudani thobe, always.
Yeah.
So I told him, Bob, we have a stain. He said, don't worry about it. So when we got there, when this happened, he got dizzy and he told me, he said, it's because all of my dream came back to me complete. I remember seeing my feet dangling and I didn't have my shoes from the masjid. When I gave you guys the body, his feet were hanging at the edge of the grave. And when we were coming to the masjid, I pointed out the stain to him on his thobe. He told me in my dream, one of the most vivid things I remember is there was a stain on my thobe. And when all of it came together and I was standing there in front of the grave, then I understood the meaning. So I became dizzy. I said, subhanAllah.
It overwhelmed him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's intense to be able to see your dream come to life like that.
Wallahi, I tell you, growing up with my dad so many times. I remember in my childhood, we got in a very bad car accident. And subhanAllah, we used to have a Chevy Astro. He got it from a friend. When he bought it, it didn't have any seats in it. He was like, you know what? We're going to make this a family car. We're like, how? The next day he comes, we had a big sajjad in the back, and there's like pillows all around.
Okay, he turned it
So it looked like a living room on wheels.
Okay.
SubhanAllah, we got pulled over so many times, and the cops were like, sir.
He just put a carpet in the back, and that's
Carpet in the back
pillow.
was in pillows.
Okay.
And we're a big family, so SubhanAllah, if it's all of us and we're just chilling and relaxing, and that's how we would drive around everywhere.
Okay. He turned it into a 10-seater.
Allah, you could fit 10, 15 people in there.
Okay.
I used to pick up the pilots, the Pakistani pilots, because we have a big naval air base. So the Pakistani students who would come and study in the naval air base, they would call them and say, hey, we don't have a right to Jummah. We would go pick up as many as we can, and everybody just sitting inside of the empty, seatless cargo.
In the living room, yeah.
Living room. So Muhim, I remember.
So you get pulled over by the police, and they'll be like, what are you guys doing?
Oh, all the time. They're like, sir, don't you have any concern that your family this could be? And every time they'll be like, we're just going to give you a warning, but we suggest you put some seats in here.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we had the seats. They were sitting in the balcony for years. He never put them. We got in an accident in that van. And subhanAllah, when we got in the accident, I remember that we avoided a very large amount of damage and also injury, because when it was happening, I just remember hearing my dad he started making dhikr, and then he like veered the van to the right very quickly. And when the person hit us, he hit the left side of the van, and when he veered, all of us had like slid to the right. After the accident finished, we went home and he's sitting talking to my mom. And he's like, SubhanAllah, remember the dream I kept telling you I was having? She said, yeah. He was like, yeah, I kept telling you in my dream, we were being chased and somebody smashed into us. And the moment when I saw, basically what happened is, there's a guy who was driving, the half semi-trailers. It's like it only has 2 seats, the smaller ones. His brakes went out. So he's trying to brake with his air brakes. So my dad saw that like he's coming at a very fast speed from his left side, and he realized that if he doesn't move, he's gonna hit him. But he was telling my mom, before I saw in the mirror, I started to remember that the road that we're on and what I'm wearing and the scenery is exactly like my dream.
Allahu Akbar.
And I got a feeling of like shock or being scared. And so before I even saw, just by instinct, I decided I wanted to pull over. So he didn't move because he knew what was happening. He moved because he felt he needed to pull over. He pulled over, and at the moment when he started to pull over is when we got clipped.
So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that the ones who are most truthful in speech are the most truthful in dreams. Do you see that correlation with your dad?
Very much. Because growing up, I remember being embarrassed with sometimes how honest he is. Like, sometimes you're in a situation, you're like, I'm not going to lie, but I'm not going to tell everything. My dad is the type of person who will explain A to Z, and he doesn't care if somebody gets mad, if somebody gets sad. His policy is, whatever's happening, he has to tell the truth. But subhanAllah, I never even correlated this thing.
Ajib. I mean, he doesn't, there's no diplomacy, basically, when he's telling you what it is.
Yeah.
Sheikh, I wanted to ask you, just a little bit of your background. We're really excited to have you with the Quran Flow program. You are one of the few people ever who have, when I've recited to, gave me like tips on altering my recitation to the point where people actually noticed it, to be honest. I've never been able to imitate anybody or change anything with regards to just I recite the way that I recite. I remember one time we were reading Surah Al-Kahf, and I was reciting it to you, and you told me a particular like tonage that I should use with my voice, because I usually go, I don't know if I go unnaturally high, but I go higher than my normal octave. And you told me, you're like, no, just stay down here. And it was actually immediate. I still don't know how to do it. It's just that one time it was able to. So I wanted to ask you about your own journey with the Quran and how you became somebody who was able to coach people in the Quran as well.
So alhamdulillah, my journey with Quran started when I was very young, maybe around the age 6 or 7. But in terms of when I took it serious was in my teen years.
Okay, so you're growing up in Jacksonville, Florida.
Grew up in Jacksonville, Florida.
Which is basically the middle of nowhere. No offense to anybody in Jacksonville. I've never been to Jacksonville, but no, it's actually a major city in America. But
right now it's become a major city. But back when I was younger, yeah, it was in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. So how many masajid did you guys have in Jacksonville?
1.
Yeah, that's a small town.
Masjid.
If you got 1 masjid, that's a small town, yeah.
1 masjid, and actually where I was more present before I was in the community of the big masjid, because we lived about 30 minutes. It was a musalla that was in the apartment complex that I lived in. A 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment with a living room.
That's the masjid.
That's the musalla.
Okay.
That's mostly where I grew up with. That's why I started my Quran. That's why I started learning how to read. There was a sheikh who was from Trinidad.
Okay.
Who I learned the qaida from, and then a sheikh.
Qaida al-Nuraniya, which is a text that's very popular to teach people how to read Quran.
No. And then a sheikh from Egypt came, and we read with him for a while before moving to the community or closer to the big masjid.
Okay. So you had a local musalla, 6, 7 years old. Your father is from where?
Ghana.
Your father's from Ghana. And what about your mom?
Caribbean.
Okay. She's from Trinidad?
Yeah.
So that's that connection.
That's the connection.
They're created a connection with that imam from Trinidad. People don't know that Trinidad has the largest school for teaching the Quran in the entire Western world.
SubhanAllah. Even I didn't know that.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine, Sudanese, when we were growing up. He said, my dad wants to send me to go. We're growing up in Queens. He said, my dad is sending me to go memorize the Quran. I was like, where? He's like, Trinidad. I was like, where is that? And why are you getting sent to Trinidad to learn Quran? But it's got a huge madrasa there. So I'm not surprised at all that you had a Quran teacher from Trinidad. So you had the teacher from Trinidad, and then was the goal to become a hafiz immediately, or was it just kind of to learn?
My dad's goal was for me to become hafiz ASAP.
Ajib.
My goal was to go there, do my lesson, not get in trouble, go home.
Okay, so now I have another question. Is that a popular goal in Ghana for people to memorize the Quran?
Yes. Sheikh Ukasha from
Okay,
Ghana.
yeah.
He's a very close family friend.
Ghana has a
And
big Hafiz culture, Hifz
Very
culture.
big.
Mm.
It is not a Muslim country, but there are Arabs who came in the late 50s, early 60s. They opened businesses, and their influence, just of being Muslims and people doing business with them, pushed a lot of Ghanaians to what's the word? Convert.
Ajib, that's great to hear.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah.
So you're saying the good character of the merchants who
Yes.
came invited people to Islam. So what would you say is the percentage of Ghana now that's Muslim?
It's Muslim. I would say between 30 and 40%.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
a lot of Muslims there.
Yeah. And so they have a good Hifz culture, if not a strong Hifz culture.
Very strong. Now we have teachers that are from Azhar. We have teachers that are from Turkey. There was a lot of the predominant Arabs that came were Lebanese. So there's a lot of Lebanese that were already there. They opened masajid, they opened marakas.
Yeah, Sheikh Ukasha, one time I heard his story. He was telling us a story, and he was under the wing of a Ghanaian alim for a number of years as a kid, really. And he developed fluency in Arabic in Ghana. Like, that's something that's really impressive, to be honest.
So
when people then
almost all of his first years of studies were in Ghana. A lot of his achievements, mashallah, and a lot of kids from Ghana, whether you're fully Ghanaian or half Ghanaian, if you have any connection with the Muslim world or with Quran, a lot of us look up to Sheikh Ukasha because what's amazing is he was able back home to attain a very large amount of the knowledge that he did before he went to any other Arab country.
beautiful, inshallah. And that's great to hear. I was just in Bosnia a couple weeks ago. We took our Maghrib Blessed Voyage trip there. And I met a number of Bosnian imams who were fluent in Arabic, and they became fluent through the high school program that they have there. And I was like, man, I wish we had that in the US where people actually become fluent in Arabic through a local program. I don't know if we have anything that's really successful to the level of fluency yet. But I mean, that's when you have institutions that are local, that are able to create a good quality of Islamic studies, that base, I think it's something that we really need to ascribe to here or aspire to here. So you have a dad who wants you to learn the Quran, he wants you to memorize. It is something that's in your culture, which is great. And then what ended up happening from there?
My younger years, I memorized, by the time I was in my early teens, I had memorized up to Surah Yasin. From Surah An-Nas, Surah Yasin.
Okay, great.
And then I just reached a point where there was a lot of distractions around me.
Were you the only person doing this, or was there also like a little bit of a hifz culture in Jacksonville?
There's what I like to call, or there was what I like to call a forced hifz community or culture.
Okay.
Not many parents were dedicated enough for it to be successful. Meaning, it's one thing to want your child to learn Quran, to memorize Quran, and it's another thing to put the effort to allow that to happen. So, a lot of people, they'll just send their kid and throw them in the masjid, memorize. But being in the masjid and reading to your shaykh is only 10%. What you do at home, how you structure your day around your Quran, that's the biggest thing. Because the goal is you want this child, the student, to live with it. If they're not living with it, they won't retain it.
Okay.
And that was a problem that I faced, but not because of my parents, because subhanAllah, I would leave from doing Quran at school and go do Quran at home. But as I said, there's a lot of outside distractions. For me, growing up, my biggest love was soccer. So for the longest time, my goal was I'm going to become a professional soccer player. I played in different clubs. I played in school. So by the time I reached my mid-teen years, that was my only focus. Soccer. In fact, one of the ways my parents would encourage me is, if you want to play, you have to also give some time to Quran.
Yeah.
So subhanAllah, by the time I reached my mid-teens, there was no internal intention from myself that, I'm going to go and finish my Quran. My focus was on soccer. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put me in a situation where I had no choice but to leave soccer for some time and focus on Quran. I got an injury. It's a long story, but I got an injury and that put me down for a while. And from there, my father pushed and encouraged for me to study. I first went for a few months. I was in Michigan Islamic Institute, Al-Miftah, which is what it's called today. When I returned home...
So you were in Detroit?
In Detroit.
Okay.
I returned home and...
Were you with the Miftah brothers? Sheikh
Yes.
Abdullah Wahid.
Sheikh Abdullah Wahid and Sheikh...
Mufti Abdul Wahab. And
Mufti Abdul Wahab.
MashaAllah.
Allah yarhamu. When I was there, Mufti Abdul Rahim, the youngest brother who passed away, he was studying. FaSubhanAllah, amazing family, amazing working
May
people.
Allah bless them.
Up
Absolutely.
until today, mashallah, they're benefiting the community in amazing ways.
I didn't know you had a relationship with them. Okay.
So I was there only for a short time, and
Okay.
then I came back to Florida.
Okay.
At this, if I remember correctly, I was around 15 at this age, or at this time. 15 going on 16. When I came back to Florida, my dad still wanted me to study, but at that time, to be honest, what it was for me was being that far away from home was hard. I had never been, just away from home, away from family. One of the best things about Al-Miftah was at that time, none of the students were allowed any kind of technology. So no phones, no computers, no connection to the outside world for the sake of focusing. And I wasn't ready for that. At that age, this is the first time I'm going through something like that, so it was difficult. So subhanAllah, I came back and we looked into some other programs, and my dad ended up finding that there's a sheikh that one of my childhood friends, actually, the first woman to teach me how to read Arabic, besides my mother, was a sister from Bangladesh.
Okay.
And her son, her whole family, they had moved to Tampa, Florida, and her son was studying under a sheikh who, Sheikh Ra'ad al-Russan.
Yeah.
So we got in contact with them, and they said, yeah, Sheikh Ra'ad is amazing. If you want Mikail to, perfect his Quran, to finish his Quran, send him to Sheikh. So we traveled, we met Sheikh, and that was what I count as the beginning of my actual journey with Quran.
So you're not going to high school at this point in time. You're not.
Oh, I was.
Okay.
Both my father was a math professor in university, and my mother is a teacher. I was homeschooled for majority of my life, and because of them and because of the structure of homeschooling, I graduated very early.
High school is a huge waste of time, man. Going to high school, subhanAllah, I remember we didn't know about homeschooling or anything like that, but I remember being in high school thinking to myself, this is a waste of time. Like the amount of just like babysitting that's basically happening to you. Like this, the subjects you can figure out pretty fast. And so I could easily appreciate and imagine how if you have a kid who's being homeschooled, I mean, there are other things that come with going to school and what have you, social skills and all of that they talk about. But as far as the actual curriculum, how old are you when you were able to finish it?
15, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
I finished very early, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, it's like 3 years of you just sitting in classes that you didn't need to do. So alhamdulillah. So then you go to Tampa, you meet Sheikh Ra'ad. Sheikh Ra'ad, alhamdulillah, is here in Houston. It's the founder of Tajweed Institute, incredible reciter. What was that like, that journey?
So the reason I count this...
But he was in Tampa at the time before he came to Houston.
Yeah, he was in Tampa at this time. And the reason I count this as the beginning of my journey with Quran is from the time that I started Quran at the age of 6 to 7 till this present time, at the time that I went to Sheikh Ra'ad, I never really understood that there is a sweetness that comes with being a student of Quran. I always thought it's something that's solely academic. I'm doing it to achieve the goal of being a hafiz, and when I become a hafiz, that's it.
You learn to fall in love with the process.
Yes, to fall in love with the process and to fall in love with the person that how can I word this? I fell in love with the person that Quran made me. So I remember when I first started with Sheikh, for the first month actually, if you've ever been to Tampa, in the OG Tajweed building, we were in a plaza. So on our left-hand side is CARE, the office for CARE, and we're on the right-hand side of that. And it's just like a small area that has what looks like a giant living room. There's one bathroom, and then there's 2 tiny classrooms. So for the first month, I was sleeping there by myself. And subhanAllah, the amount of focus that I had, there was 2 things. There was focus, because I was still isolated, and then there's the attention from Sheikh. So I was not used to seeing my Sheikh on a daily basis, and the first thing he does is joke with me in the morning. Or he asks, if I ate, or he takes me out for lunch, or he goes and plays soccer with me. Like, these are all things that are foreign to me. I didn't know that it's okay for my Sheikh to do this with me. And so in this month, because of the combination of isolation and the relationship that I now started to build with Sheikh, I didn't realize it. I finished almost three ajza in less than 30 days. Like, I would just sit and memorize.
MashaAllah.
Because in my mind, it's like, man, tomorrow Sheikh is going to come. I'm going to get to sit with him, get to interact with him. So let me have something that I can present.
Yeah.
And so I just be sitting and memorizing I did at that time I had a phone, but I didn't really care about phone. I didn't care about calling family. My
The
mind.
same phone that made you leave Michigan, the same phone. Now you're in Tampa and you don't need it.
Yeah, subhanallah. So yeah, that was.
Which also shows you, like, a lot of times it's, even with kids, it really, the program, like, you don't necessarily have to give up on the goal just because it didn't work one time.
Yes.
But you go to a different program, try a different sheikh, try a different teacher, try a different. It's like any other academic program.
Yes. And
right?
subhanallah, just as a disclaimer, as I got older, I learned to appreciate the time that I spent in Michigan.
I'm sure.
So till today, I always tell people, if you want, for your child to be able to focus and to build himself, send them there, because I know the benefit of it. But I went to Michigan, and Mufti Abdullah gave me a tour of the actual. It was my first time seeing the dorm. It's an incredible project. Mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, that was the first month there, and then things just started to progress. There's a beautiful story that happened between me and Sheikh. I remember I was living with. So after a month, I moved out from the masjid, or the center that we called the masjid, which is where we were learning, to an apartment with one of the teachers that taught with Sheikh Raad, Sheikh Ahmed Kamat, also from Jordan. And the goal was that I will move in with this sheikh to help him learn English, because he didn't speak English.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I will have the supervision of the sheikh, seeing me all the time, living with him. So I moved in with the sheikh, and subhanAllah, Sheikh Raad is good cop, Sheikh Ahmed is bad cop. They're both very nice. They both love you to death. But one gives, most of the time, Sheikh is, the cheerful, loving, happy. And then Sheikh Ahmed is, you do it because I said you do it. So, living with him, subhanAllah, I was like, man, now I'm feeling both ends of the sword. And I remember one day, he came to my room and he saw that it's messy. And so he just looks at me. And later on, I understood what he told me in Arabic. But when he told me what he said in Arabic, all I understood is, Hafiz, Malaika, what else did I understand at that moment? Hafiz, Malaika, and Nadif. I knew these 3 words.
Okay.
So what I summarized was, he's like, you're a student of Quran, you're trying to become a Hafiz and your room isn't clean. You're a person who's memorizing Quran and you walk with Malaika and your room isn't clean. And so I felt like super embarrassed. I'm like, man. So he left and I just started clean my room, organize my closet, clean the bathroom. And the next day I'm just waiting. Sheikh Ahmed's gonna come, he's gonna see, he's gonna be like, yeah, he cleaned. Nothing. The day after, nothing. Day after, nothing. I'm like, what's happening? So I went and I asked him, used my broken Arabic, a little bit of a Google Translate. He's like, yeah, I saw it's clean. Good job. And subhanAllah, even though he didn't make a party for me or something, just seeing that I could see the sincerity of him actually appreciating that, I did this, that stuck with me. And Sheikh Ahmed had a conversation with Sheikh Raad about, how I was. And so Sheikh Raad, being the good cop, he came to him and he's like, look, you know that as a student of Quran, when you come to class, you shouldn't be wearing the same thobe for the whole week. You should get your hair cut once or twice in a month. Different occasions, you wear different clothing. So I remember one day he takes me first to his house and he gives me a couple of really nice thobes. It's like these.
Sheikh Raad.
Sheikh Raad.
Inshallah.
It's like, these in Jum'ah and special occasions when we have events, wear them. And he's the one who started my addiction to colognes. So he gives me 3 bottles of cologne. When you go places, shower, dress nice, smell nice. And gradually, like every week, he would either take me and we would buy some clothing, or he would give me something. And like that, I built up,
Did you introduce him to Jordans?
No.
Okay.
There are certain things that I could never introduce to Sheikh. One of them was my cologne taste and my taste in shoes. Sheikh has a very,
he's very
style.
particular, huh?
He's very particular.
Okay.
Allah yahfadhu. SubhanAllah, these moments, why do I mention these? Is because these moments are moments that, now I'm 27, and this stuff happened 10 years ago. Till today, these are the moments that stick to me, or stick with me. And I know that these are the moments that, built my relationship with Quran more and more. Because it's one thing to have a teacher who you go and you sit and you read to. And you may joke with him in class, but it's different when you can live every single day and you say, you know what, my sheikh, my friend, my brother, my father, because at that point, I'm 4 hours away from home. The people who see me every day are my shuyukh, not my dad. And I know that.
How much is your dad checking in on you?
In the beginning, very, very, very often, until he realized what kind of relationship I have with Sheikh and with both Sheikhs. And that, I'm in a trusted environment and it's okay. And then at that point, he stepped back. I would call him, not him call me. And as I got older, I understood that that was his understanding as a father, that, you know what, my son is now maturing into a man and I'm giving him his space. But at the same time, he has my guidance. He has I'm just a phone call away. And subhanAllah. So, at that time, literally the person who served as my friend, my older brother, and my father was Sheikh Ra'ad and also Sheikh Ahmed.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
And Sheikh Ra'ad would eventually move to Houston, and you would move to Houston also.
Yes. And I moved to Houston because of him. So after I finished with him, about a year later, he was planning.
You finished with him, meaning that you read the Quran completely to him?
Yes.
Hifzan, got the ijazah?
At that time, I hadn't gotten ijazah from him yet.
Okay.
We finished, and the plan was that I would come to. He started to plan to move to Texas, to Houston, and during that time, the initial plan was that I would move with him, but I got the offer to go study in Egypt, and so my dad, his dream has always been, what he wanted to study was Islamic studies. He wanted to go directly from Ghana to either Saudi or to Egypt and to become a student of Islam, but at that time, it was very difficult for West Africans. They made many, complications. So he wasn't able to. He ended up coming to America to study. Out of all of my siblings, I'm the one who he chose will be on this path. SubhanAllah, all of my siblings, have some connection with the Quran. They memorize here and there. But I'm the only one who went through the whole shebang, as we say. So SubhanAllah, the offer came, and my dad, he talked to me. He's like, look, well, my dad's a traditional African. He didn't talk to me. I remember I came home. Yeah. And he told me, hey, we're going to start your visa process because you're going to Egypt.
Yeah.
And that's how things went.
Yeah.
And subhanAllah, what's amazing about Sheikh is, even though I didn't come with him to Texas, after my father, he was my biggest supporter when it came to me being in Egypt. Always calling me, checking on me, always asking if I need anything.
MashaAllah.
Always, subhanAllah.
So you moved to Egypt, and you were enrolled in what?
I was initially enrolled in a Ma'had program for Arabic, intensive Arabic studies.
Okay.
And ijazat, perfecting Quran, taking ijazah, and preparing me for the possibility of doing university there.
Sure.
Initially, I said I was only going to go for 6 months. So I told my dad I'll go for 6 months. And then, if I like it, I'll stay. After a month, I knew I liked it. I was in a place, actually, the brother...
You go from Jacksonville, which is a little bit on the quieter side, farm and life. You move to Tampa, big city. Then you moved to Cairo, city on steroids. What was that like?
SubhanAllah.
Cairo is noise. Cairo, I thought...
Cairo is chaos.
Yeah, I thought New York is the city that never sleeps. That's what they call it. Cairo has it beat by levels.
So do you know what the students have abbreviated Masr to be? Musiba, Sabr, Rahma.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Cairo's intense. So what was that like?
SubhanAllah, when I went with one of my childhood friends, a brother named Humayu. You may know him, Humayu Khan.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
He's in Dallas now, yeah.
Yeah. So we went together, and when I went, my dad just sent me with him. He's like, I don't need to go if you're going with somebody.
Nice,
so
inshallah.
We went, we land. We were studying in an institution at that time. It was called Studio Arabiya. So the founders of Studio Arabiya, actually, part of their family lives here in Houston. I believe actually the mother and the father and the son, they all live in Houston. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them.
Ameen.
So we were there studying initially, and I was there for around 2 years. And after I finished the 2-year program, then I moved forward into different studies for Qira'at, and then from there into Ulum al-Quran. But the experience of Cairo initially, nothing can prepare you for it. As West Africans, we have a thing where when people see us talking, they don't know if we're arguing or we're fighting, but being in Egypt, even as a West African, you're just not ready for it. Somebody will come and he's just asking you the simplest question. Yeah, basha, is this is everything okay?
It's definitely a unique place, mashallah.
But I will say, if there's a place that I counted as home, after home, Egypt.
Mashallah.
Egypt stole my heart until today it has it. If I could leave everything and just go live there, I would.
Allahu Akbar.
There's something, the people there, and you've experienced this, I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
There are people in Masr that no matter how little they have or how much they have, when you look at them, the only thing you see is sincerity, and the only thing that you feel is welcomed. And subhanAllah, this is what I dealt with a large amount of people there. Of course, every place has good people and has bad people, but the good people that I dealt with there, this is the experience that I took from them.
I mean, some of the best people I've ever met in my life have been Egyptian, alhamdulillah. I mean, and every time I've ever been to Egypt, I can honestly say I've never had a single bad experience there. And I don't know, I think that for me, as somebody who's Sudanese and seeing the absorption of the Sudanese community in Egypt over the past 2-3 years since the war started, alhamdulillah, I mean, it's been something that we just have to, show gratitude for and acknowledge. I mean, the people of Egypt have called us Abna and Nil forever, right? The children of the Nile, whenever they meet anybody Sudanese. But then when push came to shove and like there was a need for hospitality, alhamdulillah, they met that need. So jazakumullah khair, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them and bless them and protect Egypt. So that being said, you moved from to Egypt. I had 2 questions that I really wanted to ask you. Number one is, the talent for being able to recite the Quran beautifully, right? I mean, there's a basic level, which is tajweed, for sure. But, like, for example, I have a sheikh of mine, Sheikh Mamdouh, who I recite Quran to. And he told me one time, he was like, when it comes to tahseen of your, like, fixing your, not the tajweed, but fixing your, like, voice, making it sound better. He's like, you need to recite to Sheikh Ra'ad. I was like, okay. So like Sheikh Ra'ad has a skill, right? Who you studied with, who's your sheikh. He has a skill even just beyond tajweed.
Yes.
And then I saw even with reciting to you, I told you that you were able to just say like, no, your tonage, right? So tonage and how a person is actually able to present. What is that? Because that's something that people, they might be able to learn tajweed, which is more mathematical. It's like, this is how much you spend in the ghunna, this is the way that the letter should sound, what have you. But beyond that is figuring out what we call your Quranic voice. How do you do that?
SubhanAllah, again, the credit for this goes back to Sheikh, as you said, Sheikh Ra'ad, his talent surpasses more than just, the field of tajweed. And anybody who's been here in Houston and prayed by him at Tarawih, you experience that. And being his student, and you getting to see these random moments where he just randomly starts reciting, you're like, is that Sheikh?
Yeah.
When I started with him, he's the person who helped me find my voice. For some reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't attribute it to myself, but other individuals in my family, I don't know if it's a Ghanaian thing or what, but from my dad's side of the family, many people Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed with the ability to recite. Many of them. When I met Sheikh, I was much how you felt when I told you that day. Like I could recite, but I didn't have any guide. I would just recite whatever feels nice. I remember the first time sitting in front of Sheikh Ra'ad. He told me to recite, and after reciting for like maybe a minute and a half, he told me, first of all, like, you're gonna be my student. And if you're loyal to me and you listen to me, inshallah, I will take you to the highest level that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has meant for you. And then right away, he started breaking down my voice. He's like, recite like this sheikh, don't recite like this sheikh. Listen to this sheikh, don't listen to this sheikh. And as I started to learn with him more, he would always tell me, there's people who have good voices, and there's people who have a good ear and a good voice. And the person who has both of those is not comparable to a person who just has a good voice. Because you could have a good voice, so you produce something that sounds good. But a lot of the times what happens is you're only able to produce, say for example, one product versus being a factory. What makes you a factory is by being able to hear just as good as you're able to recite. Because if you can hear how good or not good you sound, if you can hear how on tune or off tune you are, you're able to make your own adjustments. You're able to, lower here and go higher here.
Yeah, I'm sure most people can't hear if they're off key or if they're off, they don't know what they're doing. They don't hear what they're saying.
A lot of people, in terms of when we teach people to recite, the main thing that we have, like as a teacher of recitation, that I have difficulty with is turning somebody who's tone deaf the opposite of that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everybody different. So some people are just created like that. There are people who can attain the ability to not be tone deaf, but it takes some time and work. But of course, you need a teacher. That's the most important.
And that's why people, when they hear their voice for the first time, like if they hear it recorded, it's like completely different than what they were hearing.
Yes.
I see. They're not hearing their tone. Okay, so what are some tips that you give people?
Listen more than you recite.
Listen to what?
Quran.
Okay.
You have to find somebody.
So what is the importance of listening? Because, for example, I might feel like I enjoy reading the Quran. I don't necessarily, or that's the amount of time that I have. That's my wird, that's my daily devotional, is that I read. What's the importance of me actually listening to the Quran?
If you're a reciter, it's very important, because just imagine, I'll give you the example of somebody who is a soldier. Okay, so he can say that my profession is I'm a soldier, and whatever, my army, my navy, whoever provides me to use in the field, I'll use. But then you have those people who are specialists, or we'll say a hunter, better example. So, a guy who hunts, and then he just uses whatever standard hunting rifles, whatever standard hunting knives there are, versus a person who's a hunter, and every single piece of equipment he has is custom. So he has a custom rifle that shoots in a specific way, that has a specific trigger, that has a specific amount of pressure. He has a specific knife that's sharpened to a specific angle, and only he knows how to use those tools. But in order for him to learn how to attain those things, or even how to operate those things, he's going to have to take certain amount of time with the standard items, take them apart, understand how they're built, understand how they break, understand how they're made, and that will allow him to make his own things. Or when he has these custom items, he is much more skilled in using them than anybody else.
Okay.
So as a reciter, if I'm just reading and I say, you know what, like you said, I only have time to read Quran. I only enjoy reading Quran.
Yeah.
But then one day the question comes to me, man, why has my voice sounded the same for the last 10 years? Why do I feel what a lot of people feel? They get fatigue here, which is the vocal cords. Why do I feel sometimes that my ears are ringing because I'm reading too high? Why is it that when I listen to myself in a recording, I don't sound anything like how I thought I sounded? Because the ear has not been trained. So you put so much focus onto training the muscle of the vocal cords, but the muscle of the ear doesn't match. So in order for you to be a good vocalist, because a reciter at the end of the day is a vocalist,
okay,
the vocal cords do not work on their own. They have to be combined with the ear. We count that, the eardrum or the ear itself is a muscle. So both of those muscles have to be trained, and they have to work in union.
What's like the most common, as someone who specializes in this or has expertise in it at least, what are like the most common mistakes you hear people who don't know what they're doing do?
This is a very broad question, because I'll give you two examples. I'll give you an example from the perspective of just recitation, and then I'll give you an example from the perspective of the Quran as a whole.
Okay.
So from just recitation, it's what we went through, like what I went through with you when you asked me about commenting on recitation. There are people, because what happens is we listen to random shuyukh, we don't have a specific sheikh we listen to. So say, for example, for me, when I speak, my voice is kind of deep. When I recite, my voice is very deep. If I were to go to listen to a sheikh like Sheikh Mishari, when he's reading at a higher octave in Joab, or I were to go to listen to, for example, Sheikh Ahmed al-Nufais, his voice is much higher in terms of pitch than mine. So what happens is your ear and your brain work as a memory drive.
Okay.
The more you listen, the more you extract. So you will start to take from the way he recites, the way he does certain tricks, certain notes that he uses, and you'll try to implement them yourself. Now, if you're not a person who can just take the essence of that and recite it at your own volume or your own ability, you won't sound good, because it's not befitting of your voice.
Okay.
So that's a mistake that a lot of people make. They don't realize that if for whatever reason you decide to copy somebody, I don't encourage people to do this.
Or even if you're not intentionally copying them, you're influenced by them.
Exactly. That's a better word, influenced.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be that, people allow themselves to be influenced to a point where it does detriment to their voice rather than improve it.
And you said the second one is regarding the Quran as a whole.
Yes. You cannot be a good reciter if you don't understand what you're reading. It doesn't matter how much you train your voice. It doesn't matter, how much of the maqamat you studied, how much of vocals you studied. If you don't understand what you read, you will not be able to give the Quran its rights in terms of the picture that you paint. So say, for example, somebody who takes an ayat speaking about adab And because he doesn't know the meaning, he reads it in a happy voice. Or vice versa. Somebody reading about Jannah, and because he doesn't know the meaning, but it just sounds good at that moment to read in a sad voice, he reads like that. So like that, he did dhulm to ma'na, the meaning of Quran, and himself as a reciter.
I don't know anything about maqamat. I don't understand it. I don't recognize them. Like, I don't have any of that. But a sheikh who does know maqamat very well, he was telling me about Sheikh Nourain, rahimahullah, the Sudanese reciter who passed away a couple of years ago. Wonderful, amazing reciter. He was telling me that his maqam that he's reading in is in a happy maqam. He said whatever it was. And he said what was really interesting about him, rahimahullah, is that he'd be reading in a maqam that's happy, but his tears are falling on his face because he's interacting with what he's reading.
Yes.
And so he's like, even though like the maqam is a happy maqam, he's like, you can see and you feel the fact that he's interacting with that.
What's amazing about Sheikh Nourain, Allah yarhamu, we have one of the maqams, maqam al-sika, we call maqam al-baka wal-farah.
Okay. So the maqam of crying and happiness.
Of crying and happiness. A maqam with its...
and a maqam is basically, what is it? It's basically a musical note, or what is that?
A melody.
A melody.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to give the exact term, musical note, but a melody.
Okay.
So the thing with sika is certain notes of it can portray happiness, and certain notes of it can portray sadness. Sheikh Nourain, when he recites, if you're a person who pays attention to, for example, when he goes to jawab and when he goes to qarar,
these are all different.
These are jawab and qarar would be the volumes. So jawab being the lower octave, and qarar being the lower octave, and jawab being a higher octave.
Okay.
When he's reading, subhanallah, it's like with the fluidity of water. According to the meaning of what he's reading, you will notice all of these small details of him dropping from jawab to qarar. Him, even though he reads in the same maqam all the time, there is a switch that happens. And like you said, if you're watching his videos, you will pay attention and you see that the emotion that's being portrayed on his face changes. But for somebody who has somebody who's paying attention enough, even if you don't have that good of an ear, you will hear that there's a switch. And so subhanAllah, even in terms of somebody who only recites in one melody or maqam, what's important is you understand. Because it is because of the fact that he's understanding and interacting that you can feel these, subtle switches.
Yeah, beautiful, mashallah. So understanding. So what does that mean? What are you advising people to do as far as understanding?
I'm advising that we break this trend that we have in America.
Okay.
That we spend, as students of Quran, 4 to 5 years memorizing Quran. And then after you finish, you go through this period of fighting to keep the Quran. And we all think that it's because we don't do enough muraja. It's not that. Logically, how can you memorize a book? And of course, the miracle, or from the miracles of Quran, is that you can memorize it even if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
But how can you retain it? That's the question. And being a teacher of Quran, being somebody who memorized Quran here, what I used to struggle with before I could understand Arabic is, for example, mutashabihat. I go into an ayah, I'm like, oh man.
You're like, how is this gonna end?
How is this gonna end? Yeah. Like the years where I would lead tarawih before.
بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرٌ versus خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Like, what's gonna...
Or just saying, I remember, Allahumma salli wa sallam. I remember one year, second or third year after finishing Quran, I was leading salah and I made a crazy mistake. I'll try to remember it, but it was a mistake simply because I didn't understand. So if people put more effort into either learning to understand as they memorize, or when they finish memorizing, dedicating time to now learn the Arabic language enough to, I'm not telling you to, be able to talk like Shakespeare or be, as eloquent as you in terms of poetry, but at least to be able to understand what's being read. It will help them so much. Not only just in, understanding to retain, but understanding to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us is the purpose of Quran. Tadabbur. How many huffaz, if you were to go, to a conference and we were to gather all of the huffaz of America and we were to ask, how many of you guys do tadabbur of what you've memorized? I, with unfortunate confidence, would say maybe not even half of them. Not because they don't want to, because we don't have the ability, because we can't understand.
So Sheikh, you're passionate about the Quran, mashallah. You spent a lot of time studying it, but you're not one-dimensional at all. Or, when people interact with you, they find that you're a person of a lot of varied interests. Okay. All times I hear you're inviting me over to a ranch that you have. You got like livestock on it. You got horses on it. You keep telling me to come and ride horses. Then I hear in the masjid that with youth you're teaching boxing classes, and like you're just involved in a lot of different things. What sparked all of these hobbies or all of these interests?
SubhanAllah.
Or is that just your personality? You're always delving into different things.
I think so. You made a point earlier. Remember, you were saying like one of the benefits, I guess, of public school is being able to go and interact with people and
Sure.
social. So what my parents did with us being schooled at home is they would always try to make it that they provide whatever we need that we're not getting from public school.
Okay.
So hobbies, but it's more of a, and this is more from my dad's side. My mom, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her, she is the soft one. So she would always try to, for example, my dad didn't like for us to be on computers. So if we want to get some computer time, we go to our mom. But when it comes to like outdoor things and activities, my dad's idea of fun stuff for me growing up was going with him. There was a time in our life where he had a construction and landscaping company. So
Yeah, we already know how that's gonna go.
yeah.
Yeah.
African dad.
Yeah. So he's got some free workers.
Oh yeah. So subhanAllah, one of my uncles in Tampa, he has a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And subhanAllah, this man has operated a slaughterhouse on 1 acre of land with no kind of licenses or anything for the last 20 years.
Allahu Akbar.
And every single Eid, for as long as I can remember, he does not hire staff. He hires his 15 nephews. I'm sorry. He brings and utilizes his 15 nephews.
MashaAllah.
And so
So you're over there slaughtering sheep at like 10 years old,
sheep,
MashaAllah.
cows, you name it, we were there doing it.
Allahu Akbar.
But subhanAllah, like growing up in this environment where, and not once in my life growing up did I ever feel like, man, what do I have to do this? I used to enjoy it. If my dad says, hey, today you're going to go to work with me, we're going to go chop some trees, we're going to go build something, I'm happy. If my uncle calls me and says, hey, I need you to drive 4 hours and come slaughter, I'm happy. So subhanAllah, growing up and having all of these things as hobbies, I always, like, as I got older, I would think the correlation between livestock, horses, sheep, cattle, and how the prophets were all, what's the word in English? Shepherds. Growing up around these animals, you learn something very quickly. We all look at them and we say, oh, they're food, so they're dumb. They're much more intelligent than you would think. And dealing with them, until you understand their intelligence and respect it, you won't be able to get very far. In fact, they become a danger to you. So,
how so?
So say, for example, cows. Or we'll take horses. Horses, of all of the cattle animals, are the most intellectual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed them in a way where they absorb whatever is put into them in terms of energy and emotion.
Okay.
So if you're a person who's aggressive, you won't be successful around horses. If you're a person who doesn't have patience, you won't be successful around them. If you're a person who doesn't have the understanding of the balance of being merciful and stern, you won't make it with them. So they teach you all of these things without having to speak a word, subhanAllah. And I believe that that is one of the wisdoms of the prophets being shepherds, is by dealing with these animals, they learn to deal with society before ever having to deal with society.
Yeah. So with regards to the ranches, that's you being outside. And we were talking about this in one session that we did with Ustadh Sado Sultan about the importance of connecting with nature, even as we're city dwellers, the importance of going out and seeing the sky, and how it really helps people with regards to their mental health. Is that one of the ways to really overcome sadness and anxiety, is that you just connect with nature again? And so have you seen that with regards to people going out to the ranch, that it causes them, it brings some sort of peace or tranquility just being outside?
Of course. I start with a personal experience. That being imam is, or being involved in the masjid, is a very stressful position.
Sure.
And subhanAllah, what has always helped is that for as long as I can remember, even before having a ranch, I've always been connected to being outdoors and being around horses and animals. So for myself, and then when I started, myself and Harun, when we started the ranch, one of our main goals was, how can we take the average Muslim youth who's going through depression, who's going through anxiety, who's going through a bad relationship with his parents, who's fighting, staying away from drugs and staying away from the opposite gender, who is fighting the average life that the American Muslim teenager goes through.
Yeah.
How can we take a person, an individual like that, and give him a space where he's comfortable, where he feels welcomed, where he feels that he can be himself as an individual, and where he feels he can build himself as an individual? And subhanAllah, we've been where we are right now for about a year, almost 2 years. But before that, I was still, involved with other ranches, and my goal is always have the youth there, and all the things that I mentioned, give them the ability to do so. And I have seen, subhanAllah, I have 2 young men. They are both now in school, and when they left, I was so sad. One of them is a Nigerian brother, young man. His name is Fawaz, and another is Algerian, who is now studying actually in Miftah, Ahmed. They started with me 3 years ago.
Okay.
And for one of them, won't mention who, but for one of them, they're the troublemaker, and their dad would say, hey, when my son's acting up, just take him to the farm, make him do a lot of hard work. So I would take them to the farm, and they would do chores, clean stalls, wash horses, cut grass, whatever. And then after that, I would teach them, how to take care of horses, how to train horses, how to ride horses. And subhanAllah, slowly by slowly, in my eyes as a teacher, because I teach them Quran as well, I saw them mature and develop from being a young teenager to a responsible young adult.
Inshallah.
So it got to a point where if I'm not here in Texas, I can leave whatever's happening in the ranch in their hands. I'll say, hey, we have a group of 20 people coming, teach them how to ride. We have this customer bringing such and such amount of horses, train them. And they themselves, if you were to go ask them, they would tell you, like, they feel so much different than the average high schooler, because there's something that they dedicated time and effort to that now they can see the fruits of.
And that they have what's the word, that they have skill in, they have confidence in, they know that they have that capacity for.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're giving them a great gift, actually. By the time they're 16, 17 or 14 or 15, however old they are, they know that they're good at something and that they have something that they can actually teach people. That's great, mashallah. What would you like to see young men more engaged in? Like, what are you seeing with regards to all of that youth work?
What I would love to see is that we understand the word individuality. We live in a place where, in this country, or now all over the world, but specifically here in the West, the goal of the average young person is to be like somebody that he or she sees on TV. Is to be like somebody that he or she sees on TikTok or social media, not realizing that these people capture the best moments of their life, and they put these up, as a facade, as a form of deception, for people to think that they can live this way. And so now we have, young men who are walking around thinking it's not normal for me to be sad, who are walking around trying to attain money in the quickest of ways, whether it be halal or haram, whether it be beneficial or not beneficial, who are less concerned with building themselves in terms of education, in terms of pursuing a profession, in terms of building a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with their community. They're more concerned with, how can I be the top of the top and remember for something that I put on a social media app. So all of this, from what I'm seeing, is simply because we do not have the concept of being proud of who I am as a person, without taking inequalities and comparing, like, I'm like this person in this way, I'm like that person in this way. Who am I as Mikail? Who am I as Ammar? What should people value from me because it's me? And subhanAllah, like we read the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad, and we see what's beautiful about him is his personality as a prophet is one thing, and then his personality of him as a human being is another thing. And he has so many unique qualities that are unique to him, that he was respected for, that he was loved for, that he is still mentioned for today, that are not even associated to his prophethood. And this is, subhanAllah, an example that I wish young men would take. If we want to take the examples, the best human to ever walk the earth, Prophet Muhammad, we look at who he was as an individual, and we
Do you mean like him liking, for example, pumpkin, or like what do you mean?
He was an athlete. He was a good husband. He was a good community man. He was kind to the youth and respectful to the elders. All of these qualities are what made him him. So for somebody to come, the average youth, if I go ask I have this conversation with them all the time. What is your goal in the next year? Not a single one of them will tell you something that, is them developing themselves for anything long term. They'll tell you, I want to make a lot of money. I want to buy a BMW.
So everyone wants something now.
Not thinking of, who am I going to be when I'm 30, 40, 50, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills for me to be alive that long.
Allah musta'an. Jazakallah khair, man. It's always a pleasure to have you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless. We're really excited to have you with Quran Flow and seeing you more in the studio. What are your thoughts of the Maghrib studio, man? Your first time here?
Allah, it's amazing. Like I was telling you earlier, it's the most professional set that I've been on. An amazing crew. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Brother Bilal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Sufyan. Again, it's amazing seeing Sufyan was or has been my Quran student for almost 3 years now.
Allahu Akbar, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and now, again, seeing him develop from who he was when I first met him to now being a young man,
MashaAllah,
in jiu-jitsu and working here with AlMaghrib, being a part of the team. So it's amazing, mashallah.
He's Houston's finest.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah. With a British accent. Jazakumullah khair, man.